So what I'm about to do here is to run two different experiments with preamplification on a vacuum tube Tesla coil. I have an experiment here on the right, and this uses a little 6S4 vertical deflector tube for an old TV set. I'm using one of them with resistive and capacitive coupling to drive three 807 tubes as the main power tubes. And I have an experiment here on the left using a little more drive power with transformer coupling with three 807 power tubes for the Tesla coil. And I'm just going to take note of the results. But before I run a preamplified circuit, I'm going to run this in a conventional manner with 11 turns on the feedback loop driving the grids on these three 807 vacuum tubes directly. So now we're set up and ready for our test run. I have a gap set up at 3.5 inches, and we'll run it and see how it looks. This project wasn't made as a practical way of doing things, but it's just an experiment with vacuum tubes and tube driver circuits. So I have set up a little 6S4 as a preamplifier on this coil. The coil only has 2 turns on the feedback loop, and the 6S4 drives those three 807s in parallel. It really doesn't quite have enough power to drive them to their capacity, but I wanted just to try it. So I'll show you the results. A quick demonstration of our sparks. Not quite as much as a direct feedback, but we have to try it out. The gap is now set up at 3¼ inches. Just barely making contact. So up next, we're using a bigger driver tube, which is a 6L6 transformer coupled to three 807 driver tubes. And we have 4 turns on the feedback coil. And here goes a test run. The gap is set at 3¾ inches. I'm not pushing the tubes that hard either. They're still running quite cool. This will be a run just out in the open. One quick look at the circuitry here. I'm using a core that would be used for a IGBT driver for the gate isolation, and I wound it up, and the plate supply for the 6L6 goes to the core and then into the tube. And the it's like a 2-to-1 ratio on the plate to grid voltage on that, using grid leak bias.